welcome to the Hearties Hotline. I am Cammie, the Hooked Heartie, and who do we have here? Well, it's not my good friend Sarah, the Hawk-Eyed Heartie, because she was called away on some family business, but it looks to be my good friend Kerri Brown.
Hi,
Kerri.
thanks for being on. This is exciting.
Thanks for coming on. It was so helpful for you to substitute.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Well, I figured you've had me on your podcast, which is Shameless Shout Out.
Honest to Goodness podcast.
Honest to Goodness podcast. So I figured it was about time we had you here on the Hearties Hotline.
I'm so excited. Thanks so much.
Oh, I'm happy to have you. I'm really glad that I don't have to do this all by myself. So, and today we will be recapping season 3, episode 6. If you are counting New Year's as 2 episodes, it is episode 6, A Gentle Heart. If you were with us on the rewatch, then this is the one that we rewatched, and so now we are recapping it. So, Kerri, one thing that we do is we like to ask questions of the day.
Okay.
So, my question of the day for you, and some people listening might say, hey, she tweeted that during the rewatch. So, whose gentle heart are we talking about here? The title says A Gentle Heart. Who do you think is the gentle heart that we're talking about?
I would have to say Elizabeth.
Okay.
So would be my guess, but I don't know.
I thought there were several.
Yeah, kind of, but I was like trying to narrow it down to one. Like if we're just talking about one, I would say Elizabeth. Obviously we saw Abigail with her tender heart as usual.
Faith.
And Fate, yes, as well. Even Jack in dealing with Fate and Peter.
Well, so, we all know Jack has a very gentle heart.
Right.
I mean, I have one word for you: typewriter.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Shall we go there? We're there. So Jack comes in to Elizabeth's snowstorm of rejected paper. And she says, my inspiration has taken a vacation. And Jack says, well, it's back now. I ordered this for you from the Mercantile last week, and it is a typewriter. And did you catch this? This is kind of a thing of mine, so I don't know if you caught it, but did you catch that she said, may I? When she asked if she could open it. That's usually Jack's line. Jack has, I mean, one day I am going to go through and find all the times when he says, may I? Because that's kind of his line. In fact, he says it at the end of this episode when he asks her to dance. And so, yeah, so it's almost as if he was taking it back. Hey, you said my line. I'm taking it back.
Yes, that scene, oh my gosh, like just it has been, I'm gonna admit, it has been forever since I have been back and rewatched some of the first seasons. So going back and rewatching this episode, I was just like, oh my gosh, like just melting all over again.
Swoony! It's swoon worthy. Okay, one thing I will just come clean and be completely honest about, when she types out, you are my inspiration, number one, that's adorable. It's totally sweet. But I wanted her to type, I love you. They've already said it, so why can't they do it? They're completely alone.
I guess it was a way of saying it without saying it. I don't know.
No. I mean, do both.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
are
yeah.
my inspiration. I love you.
Yeah, I get you. Okay, yeah, that would have been good. That would have been good. Especially, I mean, it was such an act of love on his part, to show the faith that he had in her of this is something, this is a dream of yours. I believe you're capable of it, and I want to do what I can to make that dream come true.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's just, I mean, Jack has all of these grand gestures without them being really, really grand. It's
Right.
it's kind of an amazing thing that he's got a knack for, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He does all of these grand gestures that aren't too big and grand, well, except for candles everywhere in the churchyard.
Don't get me started. Do not get me started.
We're saving that for another season.
If anybody listening to this is familiar with the Honest to Goodness podcast, they know the hashtag Team No Candles thing is like a big joke with us, because the candles are a trigger for me. So yeah.
Candles are a trigger. But what I'm trying to say is he doesn't spend a ton of money, but he's not afraid to spend money on her.
Right.
He orders her a teacher bell, but first he gets her a cowbell. He orders her a typewriter. He does all of the illustrations in her book. That's once again later, but he does all of these grand gestures that he's not afraid to spend money on, but it's not costing him a huge fortune. He knows how to make do with what he's got, which I think is lovely. Except the candles thing, he probably bought out the mercantile, but that was for a special occasion. Moving on.
Jack single-handedly has kept Cat Montgomery in business. Okay, like
so true. It is so true. Man. Oh, okay. While we're on Elizabeth and Jack, I just want to talk about the other two scenes that are pinpointed on them. So number one, we've got the scene where she comes in with dinner and Jack and Faith have just finished talking. So by this time I was watching the episodes week to week. And this was a scene that they showed to try to increase drama, and then when I watched it, they were both fine. They weren't making a big deal about it. And I thought that was a really great way to show the difference between season 2 Jack and Elizabeth and season 3 Jack and Elizabeth, because every little step that either of them made the other one angry.
Right.
And then in season 3, they're downright joking about it. And they're saying, okay, I'll just be better so you'll want me instead.
Yeah. Yes. How's that for competition? You win.
You win. No contest, you win.
Loved about that scene, like when Elizabeth walks in, obviously she feels like she interrupted a moment between Jack and Faith.
Yeah.
But obviously Faith is like, okay, I'll leave now, but I love the fact that Jack was just like, he let Elizabeth know what was going on without having to explain himself, by finishing his conversation with Faith.
Yep.
And by Elizabeth seeing, okay, this is what they were talking about, but he wasn't going to let the fact that Elizabeth was there stop him from taking care of his friend that happens to be a beautiful woman.
Right.
So I loved that element.
Yeah. And on top of that, he doesn't apologize.
Right.
For helping her. Elizabeth kind of sarcastically says, and she came to you to discuss it. Well, yeah, I'm her friend. He doesn't apologize. And then this is where you see Elizabeth has grown so much. I know Doesn't mean I have to like it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she just smiled. She just smiled and said it. And she said, yeah, I'm a tiny bit jealous, but I know you love me, even though they won't say it anymore.
I have to wonder, and this is slightly off topic, Jack had an engagement ring at the end of season 2. So what the heck has he done with his ring? Like, where is this ring this whole time? Until
burning a hole in one of his pockets.
Like, is it in a drawer in the office? Is it in his pocket somewhere? Like, that would be something that I would wonder is, did he carry around that ring in his pocket? That would be like just so romantic if he did, but at the same time, very annoying that he waited so long if he did.
I doubt he was carrying it around because, you get from what he told Faith when she arrived in town in the last episode, we're taking our time. Because Faith immediately assumed, oh, so you're engaged too. We're taking our time. So my guess is he's not carrying it with him. But another one of my guesses is it's probably not too far away.
Yeah.
So she says, I know, doesn't mean I have to like it. Come to think of it, I don't know how I feel about Wade Barrett living right next door to you. They're okay. They're okay now.
Yeah.
And
what was it she called him? Well, he is quite dashing or something like that.
Yeah, he is very dashing.
Yeah.
Am I going to compete with that?
Oh my gosh, they were so good.
They are just they are a pair in a million. I'm gonna say it. They are a pair in a million, and I don't get tired of watching them on screen together. They're really fantastic.
No way.
All right, and then we go to the next scene with the two of them, which once again shows how comfortable they are with one another, because Jack says something that could be very risky and says, I think you're gonna make a terrific mom one day.
Yes. Yes. Shows where they're headed for sure.
Yeah. And then, that's one thing I really love about Jack is he knows how to be supportive without saying, I'm here for you. He's just holding her hand and listening to her talk about Hattie. And, and then he reassures her that she's doing a great job with the children and that she's going to make a terrific mom one day. And then isn't this where you're supposed to say, I'm going to make a terrific dad? But while he does say that very blatantly, and then it's kind of fishing for a compliment, he doesn't make any bones about what is on his mind. He says, hey, we're on topic. Let's talk about this now. So that's the part that I like, is that maybe, he's fishing a little bit, but he's showing her exactly what's going on in his head, and there's no room for misinterpretation.
Yeah. I love the way she handled him, though.
Oh, gosh.
It brought him down a peg on the one hand, but on the other hand, it actually was a compliment. It was just hidden within a joke. Like,
And how
it's true. He's like, you don't? And like, you can see his whole face.
He looked like he was about to cry.
I've never tried your shepherd's pie. And then they both just start laughing.
Bursting out in laughter, yeah.
Yeah, but that was kind of her way of saying, well, duh, without saying that. And, so.
No, that's exactly right. All right, while we are on the subject, let's move over to Hattie Ferguson.
All right.
Oh, the little pill. I have to say that Elizabeth is more patient than I would have been. I would have been, hey, you don't talk that way. We do not treat people like that. What's going on with you?
Yeah.
And by the same token, I don't know about you, but I mean, and this was done for story's sake. I understand that completely. Right. But as a mother, that would be the first thing that I would tell the teacher.
Right.
You know, I would go in and I would say, listen, this is the situation that we're coming from. She is curled up in a ball and shoved herself into a cocoon, and I can't reach her. And so I'm hoping that bringing her to school will help her make some new friends, but she did just lose her best friend in the world to death. You know, I mean, wouldn't that be something you would want the teacher to know? You know,
Yeah, I agree. I feel like
don't leave it up to the kid to tell the teacher. They're not going to.
yeah, I feel like maybe Elizabeth could have dug a little deeper, maybe.
Sooner.
Yeah, well, kind of like, asked Hattie, just like in conversation with her, just more asked her about Hamilton, well, tell me stories and, whatever, and like gotten on a level with her there.
Instead of
Maybe.
jumping to, why don't you ask Janie to come for a visit?
Right.
Okay.
I feel like maybe she could have fished a little deeper with Hattie herself and figured out what was going on with her and gone, well, I'm from Hamilton too. So, if you're homesick for that, let's talk about it. And, like talking with her on that level instead of just expecting her to just fit in with Hope Valley automatically. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, I completely see where you're coming from. I'm just talking as a mom. If my daughter lost one of her best friends and it was to something as tragic as the best friend dying and we moved to a new place, that would be the first thing I would say. Right. I would say, listen, bad situation. So yeah, I mean, as we know, all of this was for story. We had to have it come out, but just if we're talking real life, nah.
I say it all the time. I am too technical for TV. Like, I will sit there and watch stuff and I'm like, why didn't you just, or in real life, this would, well, duh, or, like, I'm that person. I will not shut up when I'm watching something because I'm the person that will point everything out. So,
you need to watch a movie with my husband. You guys would get along great. My friend Carrie on Hallmarkie's podcast calls him the commentator.
That is me.
Yep. Let's have the two of you watch a brand new Hallmark movie together, or at least one that neither one of you have seen, and let the two of you go at it.
Sounds like a plan.
But there was one really interesting aspect of the way Hattie was reacting. She was being mean on purpose so that she wouldn't get close to anyone because she didn't want something to happen to them and her to get hurt all over again. And I thought, I've seen this in a couple other places, and I just think it is such interesting logic. Did you ever watch The Waltons? Have you ever watched The Waltons?
I've seen some of it. I haven't. Okay. It's been a long time, but I have seen some of it, so I'm vaguely familiar with it. Yes.
Okay, so the youngest daughter, Elizabeth, she loses her doll in a house fire, and she's lost a lot of pets, and she lost a best friend to death. And so after the fire, it kind of traumatized her, and she said, I'm not going to care about anybody. And so when she goes over to the house for a visit, she won't give her mother a hug. She won't, she'll just say, hello, mama. And then John Boy, the older brother, finds out that she doesn't want to care about them because if she cares about them, something bad will happen. And I went, huh. I thought, have I ever done that? Did I do that when I was a kid? That would be really interesting to analyze.
Yeah. I think everybody reacts to things, responds to things differently. I know for myself, I tend to, when I'm going through something, withdraw from other people. I will like put myself in a shell, even though I know that's not what I need to do, because I'm like, so scared of getting hurt again or of, whatever. And it takes me a while to come out of that, or just particular people that, like Morgan, that I have come to trust. So I will start turning to her instead of just withdrawing into my shell, but that's just me. And, other people might automatically cling to other people and, need that, whatever. So
anybody who doesn't know, Morgan is her partner on Honest to Goodness.
Sorry. Sorry. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about Kindness Week.
Favorite part of this by far. Okay, two favorite parts of this by far. First one was Cody with Rip. That was stinking adorable. But Rosemary was like
Miss Thatcher, you were very kind to Rip. Like, and so kind to me to get my floor all wet and soapy and filthy.
Yeah, you can tell he's like trying not to be exasperated because he knows it's adorable, but it's like
he knows that Cody was trying so hard.
I know. Oh my gosh. But yeah.
And what's your other favorite part?
By far. The Rosemary was like by far the best as usual.
She, even before Kindness Week started, she was trying to be kind to Lee, even though Lee didn't want that kindness. Like, right? Rosemary, I cut my foot. I don't have the plague.
Yes. They're so perfect.
Yeah, they're precious. They're adorable. And Elizabeth and Rosemary are at a really, really awkward time in their friendship. They're friends now. They're both with their respective men. They're comfortable in their relationships with their respective men. But Elizabeth is still trying to deal with Rosemary. Not as badly, but she still has to deal with her. And Rosemary is still a little too much for Elizabeth to handle sometimes. So it's really funny watching them be nice to each other, yet still in that very awkward stage of their friendship, especially when you compare them to later seasons when they're inseparable.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I've got it right here. Now, Elizabeth, I know as a school teacher, you have a lot of things on your mind, but that frown is only going to add to the lines on your face. And I'm sure you don't want more of those than you already have. It's Kindness Week, remember? Kindness doesn't mean a person shouldn't be honest. Oh gosh. Rosemary, for the love.
Only Rosemary.
Only Rosemary. And you look at Elizabeth's face, which has no wrinkles at all. Her gorgeous porcelain complexion. And you don't want any more wrinkles. What?
The next part of that conversation is the best part, though.
Oh, please go on.
Oh, I don't have it written down, but
no, give us a little recap of it.
I don't remember exactly what it was that Rosemary said. So I know we haven't always gotten along, whatever, but how was it she worded it? But when the Elizabeth is like,
under your crusty exterior was a spark of personality. That makes me feel so much better.
Her gritted teeth. That is hilarious.
I like to call that her Rosemary style. It wasn't quite as but you could tell that she was like, don't do it.
Gosh. Rosemary, you just have to love. Like, there is no changing her. And you wouldn't want to. That's the beauty of her. She is like just so uniquely her that you just have to come to realize what a treasure she is. Annoying at times, but she's a treasure.
Well, and that's the beauty about Pascal and the way that she has played Rosemary, because she's still Rosemary. We talk about this all the time. She is still Rosemary, but to look at where she was when she came to Hope Valley and where she is now, it's just, she's still Rosemary, but she has grown so much. And she's even, dare I say, matured.
Yeah. She has had an incredible character arc through the series.
Incredible, amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
100%. All right. Now we cannot go past this episode without talking about Faith and Peter.
Oh man.
Oy. So
can I just say poor Faith?
Yes.
Like, I'm sorry, but this poor girl, like, she's been through the ringer. They need to like give her an actual steady guy in season 10. I'm just saying.
It would be nice, wouldn't it?
It would. I will say,
wouldn't it be nice if Faith had someone?
there you go. I will say, like, seeing when he left the stagecoach, and she's standing there, took me back to when Carson leaves, as she said that part of her thought that he would still be standing there when the stagecoach pulled away. So that's kind of deja vu that went through my mind when I was rewatching this episode.
Deja vu of something that hasn't happened yet in this timeline.
Yeah. Deja vu in my brain.
In your brain. Got it.
There you go.
So, I obviously this is the way he was supposed to be, but I was so taken aback by how controlling Peter really was. And but then I had to remember, this is what was done. This is what was done in 1912. A woman did not work after she got married. She just didn't. And so while we think that Peter is being very short-minded, we also need to remember that that's what he's used to. And he could have handled it a whole lot differently, you know. Right. And like Faith said, maybe we should have talked about these things before we became engaged. And something really struck me watching this time through, because a lot of times we don't think about an engagement being as binding as it really is. You know, we think, oh, they're not married yet, there's still time. But Faith says, Jack, I made a promise.
And a promise is a promise.
And a promise is a promise. And he says, not if it's going to make you unhappy for the rest of your life, which is very true. And those two would not have been happy together. But it was really interesting listening to it from Faith's perspective, that she was tormented by this idea because she thought that she was being disloyal for wanting to do something. And the big thing is they needed her. You know, this wasn't just her being rebellious and saying, I'm going to keep working and I don't care what society or you say. They needed her.
Right.
They needed some medical personnel in Hope Valley. And when he gets on that stagecoach and says, you'll regret this. And she says, maybe.
But I have to find out for myself. And he tells her basically, if you don't get on this stagecoach, you know, our engagement's off. And she said, that's your decision, not mine.
Yeah, you are making this decision. If you're going to say that, I am not making this decision, you are. So
you're the one breaking our engagement. I'm saying, give me a couple of weeks until they can find someone else. And you're saying, if you don't come with me right now, we're done. So you're the one saying we're done. I was saying, give me a couple of weeks. And the biggest example of her being so needed we see is baby Oliver. So shout out to Postables. Maybe that was Oliver. No. Well, I mean, he's old enough at heart. Maybe he found the fountain of eternal youth. I don't know. He's old-fashioned enough that could be him, you know. This is true. I mean, Shane did say that sometimes she believed her sole purpose was to drag him into the 21st century. So absolutely, there you go. He might be from the 20th century. From the really early 20th century. But no, I'm really looking forward to talking more about Edith and Oliver and their journey, because they have a great story arc and it lasts a good 3 episodes. But we start out with just this poor woman.
She's all alone holding a baby. He won't stop crying. He's had a fever for a couple of days. And finally, he stops crying. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have had 4 children. And when they finally just stop crying, it's this.
And you will kill anyone who makes a noise.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Breathe at your own risk.
But for him to finally have that relief, and that Edith finally knows that it was an ear infection, he'll be okay, you know, that's a huge relief, which is a good thing because she's got more worries, and that's Gowan.
Talk about somebody that's had an incredible character arc.
Oh boy,
series too.
I'm actually sympathetic toward Gowan now, but not here, not in season 3.
Definitely not in season 3, but
oh my goodness. I mean, he's jacking up the rent on these poor people who have nothing. And he's giving them a couple of days notice. It's ridiculous. It just, I don't know how one man can be so greedy. You know?
Yeah. I love when Jack told him, you may be the mayor, but you're not the law in this town. I am.
Oh, I was like, suck it to him, Jack. Yeah.
He's like, you give me a court-ordered document and I'll carry it out, but like I'm not gonna just go do something just because you told me to, you know, basically. So yeah.
Okay, there's one more thing I have to mention, and I'm sure you will agree with me. Bill and Dottie.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
I miss Dottie. I will have to say that I do miss Dottie as a character on the show.
I do too.
She was a precious person.
She was. I agree. And I loved this interaction. This was before Flomo was Flomo, you know, and so we got Flo and Dottie walking together, and Florence wants to make a huge deal for Dottie's birthday. And then Bill comes up and says that he knows that Dottie's birthday is coming up. And, oh, that's very kind of you. But Florence just invited me out to lunch. She's completely free for dinner. Like, matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match.
I know the feeling, trust me, because like I'm at that stage where like everybody and their sister's friend's aunt is trying to set me up right now. So I can literally be somewhere and be feet away from a guy and we'll have like 4 ladies, not quietly, being like, oh, you should like just call her and ask him out to dinner or whatever. I'm like, would you stop? You know, like just stop. I don't think people realize how annoying it is for people to try to set you up. But yeah, Florence was like adorable in this scene doing that. And of course, just the look on Dottie's face, like, thanks a lot.
I have to say, I'm coming from the other side because 2 friends that I set up are actually getting married in a few months. So.
No, just always had a dread of it for some reason, which is funny because my brother and his wife were set up. Oh. But I'm just like, I don't know. There's just a side of me that's like, is it just so bad to just want to randomly meet somebody and you just both like each other? There's no awkwardness. You just talk, you hang out, and then you decide you want something more and whatever. I'm like, is that so bad to want?
No, it's not so bad to want, but if you're wanting a relationship without awkwardness, good luck.
Well, obviously there's some in that, but I mean like the awkwardness of somebody going, oh, you 2 are perfect together, and setting 2 perfect strangers together. That's the type of awkwardness I was talking about.
Okay, fair enough. Yes, that's completely fair. But it's really funny when Florence says, I know this is hard to believe, but I didn't say anything, I swear. You know, Florence has some really, really good lines.
She does.
I mean, with the fake pastor Frank, and then right here, she just, I mean, when you go through and listen to the lines that Florence says,
Oh, she's iconic.
They are funny. They are funny. And like you said, they are so iconic. And that whole out to lunch, she's completely free for dinner. The timing is just,
oh yeah,
it's perfect. It's so perfect. Yeah. And then there's a moment after dinner, which, okay, before we talk about the moment, I gotta mention when Bill comes to ask Abigail about closing down early, you can tell that Abigail's kind of gearing up for another awkward conversation. And then he says he wants to close it early. And may I ask why? It's Dottie Ramsey's birthday. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Oh, of course. Then she's just a friend. Of course she is. Bye. You know. Yeah. That was a huge relief for Abigail, I think, because she just was really in an awkward position, and everything has just happened with the whole Matt Landry thing and Bill trying to protect her and her thinking that he's being overprotective and he's probably jealous and just blah 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 blah. This was a really great step in a moving on scene. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a really great way for them to move on. And then after dinner, we have the moment. Right after she calls him dangerous. Is that timing, or is that, I don't know. Is that just really good timing, or is that kind of proving her wrong?
I like how he just left her with, you decide.
You decide, and walks
I mean, that is a mic drop moment right there.
That's a horseshoe drop moment with, with that kiss.
Yes. I mean, I guess I remember one time, because personally I've never been kissed. So I remember being in a conversation with like a group of young adults, and we were talking about it. And I don't remember exactly what led up to this comment, but I remember one of the guys just kind of looking at me and goes, so, like, you don't plan it. Sometimes it just happens. Like, you know, it just hits you and you do it, you know, like there's not a thought behind it. It just happens. And I'm like, okay, I'll take your word for it. Never been in that position myself, but I'll take your word for it. So I guess that's the case.
I will tell you that I have had it happen to me both ways. My first real kiss, because my first kiss ever was on the stage, and that was just, yeah. But my first kiss ever, he just leaned down and kissed me. I was like, whoa! I mean, I had no problem with it. It just shocked me. And then one time in college, he kind of tilted up my face and gave me the stare down and then leaned in, you know, that whole kind of thing. But when my husband kissed me for the first time, and no, we were not married, we were not engaged at the time. This is when we were just starting out. When my husband kissed me for the first time, he actually asked me, he said, "Can I kiss you?" I'm like, okay. Yeah. And the funny thing is I had mixed feelings about it. So, so I was like, okay, sure. There you go. So it happens all different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I have joked around. I'm like, this would be my luck, is that Stark, our director, will, on this series that I'm fixing to go help film, that he'll have me like playing somebody's girlfriend or something, and then I'll end up kissed on screen, like first time ever. That'll probably, and I'm like, not really, I don't really think that's gonna happen. I'm just laughing. I'm like, that would be my luck for that to be what happened.
My first kiss ever was on stage, so that was awkward.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so then to end the episode, we have the Kindness Week dance that Rosemary has set up. Now, I just have to say something about Kindness Week right here. This was Elizabeth thinking on her feet. And I really loved how Erin played it. You can see the idea forming in her head, but she makes it look to the kids like she had the idea all along. And she writes it on the board. It's official and everything. And she goes straight into teacher mode with Kindness Week, saying, for your homework, you are going to do this. But in the beginning, she's kind of folding her arms and, oh, that's okay, I'm running with it,
Yeah.
I really loved how she played that. And then it all kind of culminates in several acts of kindness that happen at the party. We have the macaroni necklace.
Yes.
From Emily to Rosemary.
Yeah, at least it wasn't sticky.
Yeah, it wasn't cooked macaroni.
Oh man. Of course that line is like in another season, but anyway.
Yeah. No, it's not in another season, it's in another episode.
Oh, is it that same season?
Yeah, it is. It's season 3.
Okay.
So we are coming to it soon enough.
There you go.
We have Hattie loaning Anna a party dress for Kindness Week. And this is kind of a two-way kindness thing. When the music starts and no one's dancing, Cody gets up and goes and asks Miss Thatcher, but they kind of already agreed to it. And that was saving him from embarrassment with Hattie at that moment. So it was kind of a twofold kindness thing. And then you have Hattie coming in again and offering another act of kindness, saying, I was hoping you would save the first dance for me. What do you think about, I mean, not those two as a couple, but pairing those two off as scene partners? What do you think about that, of Hattie and Cody?
I think it showed two broken children kind of finding a mutual ground that they could actually help each other heal and learn to trust and learn to love again, and so I think that was a very, very important element between the two. I definitely could not see them like together, but I think it was a good move to put them together in a scene. Before we get to the very end of this, I just have to say one other character that I think has had a huge character arc is Robert.
Oh gosh. I asked you to skunk, you want to see?
I mean, he was like such a prankster and such just a character as a child. Smart, but he was just such a character.
Yeah.
And then we had now seen him grow up into such a mature, well, for his age, mature, obviously he still has a lot of growing and maturing to do throughout life, as do we all. But he has grown into a more serious, mature, hardworking, helpful young man. And it just makes you proud to see, because you kind of feel like you watched him grow up,
Yeah.
So that, like, to go back to see him when he was that little and just what he would get himself into, but to think about what he is now, like in season 9, season 10, he has had a very great character arc, I believe.
Yeah, that you have a point. While we're on cameo appearances really quick, did you know that the couple that Jack shakes hands with right before he and Bill start walking on the street, and Bill is suspicious that Lee's business is under sabotage, not just a bunch of bad accidents? Did you know that was Dan's father and stepmom?
I don't think I did know that. No, I knew they had made appearances, but I guess I caught that in that moment.
that was them. That was Dan Lissing's father and stepmom. That awesome. he shook his hand, and then they walked away, and Bill and Jack started walking together and talking about Lee's business. So yeah, I thought that was sweet. It's always fun when they bring in family members.
Oh yeah. For sure.
Okay, now going back to the party. So Elizabeth loses her partner. Darn. I tell you, the first time that I ever watched this episode, I probably rewound Jack coming up to her about 4 times. And when I was watching it to prepare for this recording, I may have rewound it a time or 2, strictly for research purposes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, yes. But just him watching the whole thing unfold and then him smiling and immediately going up to her and then being all cool and awkward at the same time. And looks like you've been stood up. I have,
Yeah.
And I know they're big shoes to fill, but may I?
May I? Yes.
There's his line.
Yep.
There's his may I.
Yes. They're so precious together. I miss that dynamic. They pulled something out of each other that there was they angry, but in the most adorable way. It wasn't like a true anger. It was like just you get on my nerves, but it was in a way that it made them enjoy each other. It wasn't a way that drove them apart. It was actually a way that made their relationship more fun and more interesting.
Well, except in season 2.
This is true.
That one drove them apart.
This is true. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this lovely evening to recap A Gentle Heart. So tell all of our Hearties Hotline listeners and viewers, where can people find you, Miss Brown?
Well, honestly, I'm not that active on social media anymore, but you can find our podcast, which is Honest to Goodness. It's the number 2. On YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor. And our Instagram, I believe, is at Honest Goodness Pod. And of course, my actual individual Heartie account is Heartie Forever and Always. And my co-host Morgan is Team Nathan Grant on Instagram as well. Maybe one of these days we'll get back to doing our Instagram lives.
Yeah, maybe one day. All right. And you guys know where to find me. Right here on Hearties Hotline. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Cami Drama Girl. You can also find me at Deliver Me a Podcast and on Hallmarky's podcast, the occasional episode every once in a while, because there are so many hosts. So we hope that you have a lovely day or a lovely evening whenever you're watching this, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.